Ja, vielen Dank.
Thank you very much. And I have a bit of a surprise for you. I'm going to speak German because there are certain topics which affect me emotionally and mean that I'd rather speak my mother tongue than English. First of all, I'd like to thank the previous speaker for having given us this example, not simply saying that the Roma people can integrate themselves into society, but the fact is that that doesn't mean that they just disappear, culturally speaking, but that they stand up for the Roma cause. That's very important, I think. And in the last years in the European Union, I think that our experience has been that if in the good times we're not able to guarantee human rights, well, then when we have the bad times, as George Soros mentioned, well, then there's no hope of us getting human rights guaranteed. And I think that taking account of all of the hope that we have heard, I think we have to take a very sober look at where we are with the question of realizing human rights and realizing the European objectives for the Roma people. And these objectives are guaranteeing a life of freedom, security, guaranteeing human rights, and also allowing the Roma to have a decent life and improve their standard of living. I think if you look at the reports, not just from the new member states, but also other member states, if you look at the question of the Roma standard of living in Balkan countries, for example, well, I think then you can say that 65 years after the end of National Socialism, we still have a problem that one of the largest groups who were victimized in the National Socialist regime in the Second World War and in other countries of Europe, that one of this largest groups, victim groups, is not yet in a situation where we can say that European values have been realized for this group, that they have reached their European objectives. And I think that is a very sobering thing to realize. Having said that, though, I think the European Union has done something and has attempted to improve the conditions that the Roma live in the European Union's member states. We have created a legislative framework for the national Roma strategies, and it's not the worst thing we could have done, but it's certainly not sufficient. And certainly my political group thinks that this framework lacks specific objectives, in particular when it comes to ending discrimination of the Roma. I think one of the most shaming moments for European politics, especially when it comes to Roma integration, was in our confrontation of the French government. Commissioner Reding said that after the unjustified removal of the Roma from France, she said that the Commission would start treaty infringement proceedings. But nothing really came of that because the European Commission was not able to stand up to the French government, and they weren't able to say to France what they ought to have said and speak out in favor of the Roma, which they really ought to have done. President Sarkozy had a very clear strategy for getting rid of the Roma, and he just didn't allow himself to be influenced by news from the countries where these Roma were being sent back to. We heard that report about what happened to Natalka, and we're familiar with this sort of thing. We've heard other accounts of what happens in Western Balkan countries. Now, in the German newspapers, these things often end up on page 3 of the newspaper. But despite these reports and these accounts, the European Commission has not taken a firmer stance against member states who have been pushing the Roma around. Our objectives are quite clear, I think, and I think the majority of members of this House would share our objectives, and that is that in the European Union we want there to be equal rights for the Roma. We want European Union civil rights, which we set great store by in Europe. We want them to apply to the Roma as they do for every other citizen in the European Union. We want to see the end of discrimination. We want to see the end of deportations within the EU and to neighbouring countries of the EU. We know that this deportation strategy is irresponsible, and we want these demands to be included in the legislative framework that we have for the Roma strategy. Now, we're in a very difficult situation, and that comes back to what George Soros said earlier on. We're going through economically tough times, and therefore that makes it not a very good time to focus on human rights. But if you look at the financial crisis and the economic crisis, and if you use that crisis as a pretext to neglect human rights or push them down to second priority, well, then you're making a very big mistake. Because we're seeing populist sentiments against not just the Roma but other minorities, and you need to guard against these nationalist sentiments and populist sentiments between member states. For example, there's a division now between EU donor countries and recipient countries, and these sentiments won't just disappear on their own. In times of economic crisis, you need to have proper policies in place to tackle these sentiments. And so I'd like to thank this conference for standing up in favour of the interests of the Roma.